push that on here.
She's really doing a great job. She hears wonderful things. And I said, that's so nice. So,
She's got a lot on her plate up there.
oh, I can imagine.
And okay, we have video going. So, all right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everyone please rise. Pledge allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. The first item we have on the agenda for tonight, since it is the first meeting of the year, are officer elections. That'll be preceded first by nominations. So, as the president for the past year, I will open the floor for nominations for president. And we'll give Amy just a second here to take a seat. So, Amy, as I was just saying, we're going to open the floor for nominations for president for 2024. So, with that, are there any nominations for president for 2024?
I nominate Dirk Schmidt as president.
I second.
I will accept that nomination. Are there any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
I second that.
Very well. Without objection, we'll go ahead and close out nominations then. All right, so we have Dirk as president. Okay, moving on for the vice president, who will be in charge of running meetings in the absence of the president. Are there any nominations for vice president for 2024?
Can we nominate David if he's not here?
We did that
We
last
can,
year.
and he was the vice president this last year, so
Okay.
I have no reason to believe he would not accept that, so,
Okay, I nominate David Gall as vice president.
I
okay.
would second that.
All right. Hearing no objection, and assuming that David would not object to that, David will be the vice president. Okay.
One question, I'm sorry, I heard Amy nominate, but who seconded?
Sue Ann.
Sue Ann, okay, thank you.
Yep. At least I heard Sue Ann seconded, yes, so. Okay. Moving on down the agenda. Minutes from the last meeting were sent out last week by Janet. Are there any questions about the minutes? Any corrections that anyone noticed? I know in glancing through it seemed to be an accurate account, so if there are no questions or corrections, I would entertain a motion to adopt them as presented.
So moved.
Very well. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the minutes?
Have we had any feedback at all from the people who were here?
For the for the event?
That would
Janet?
be my park and distribution.
Okay,
Okay.
very well. Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor of adopting or approving the minutes as distributed, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. All right, the treasurer's report. So Janet distributed a copy here to me, and I'm trying to remember. I know I've specifically asked for the appropriation and fund reports in the past. Did all of you want a printed copy as well, or was an electronic copy ahead of the meeting sufficient?
That's
Electronic's
fine.
fine.
Electronic,
Fine.
okay. I will mention that to Angela, that we prefer the electronic versions. Just the day of the meeting sufficient?
Yep.
Okay. All right, also circulating are the vouchers for this past month, and I would ask Angela if she were here, but I believe this would be for our 2023 budget, is what this is hitting against. But they are in the amount of $5,592.38. Did you get that, Janet?
Mhm.
Okay.
And that does end our 2023.
So unless we receive something here this month, and Angela mentions at our February meeting that, hey, I had a couple of bills come in against the 2023, then presumably, yes, this would be the last. But if Angela were here, I'm sure she would let us know.
No, that's pretty much exactly what she said.
Yep,
She will
so.
let me know next month.
All right, I'll be distributing this around for signature. Suzanne, if you want to pass it back, I'll send it back the other way. So, our appropriation report looks like the number I have in front of me. Here you go. This is for 2023 year end, so nothing yet for 2024 in front of us in the first 8 days or whatever. So, I mean, all in all together, it looks like our park fund, we ended up something with like 15% left out of our appropriations. So, in the black, that's always good. The various items where we went considerably over, I know it was mentioned at the last meeting, we had the payroll issues that were corrected. That had to be addressed with the category transfer that was taken care of, or rather line item transfer within the categories. So hopefully all of those ones that we significantly spent over on should be addressed here in the 2024 appropriation that we got approved. And also was distributed here a copy of the revenue report from 2023, where our total revenue was $140,000, $140,437.28. I just misstated that. Anyhow, Janet wanted me to highlight, by the way, that our Leo-Cedarville, or rather now Cedarville Pavilion rentals, total revenue from that was $41,000 roughly. So
Nice.
That's a new high.
Yep.
An absolute new high. We are up 21,000 from 40 and a half years ago.
So.
Wow, that's great.
It's doing well, really well.
It's a great park.
Yeah.
So.
Nice park.
Janet, was there
great.
anything else from Angela that she wanted to mention?
No, just that next month she'll have
The year end.
and any additional from 2023, and she's gonna close out books then, and
And actually, real quick, Janet, going back to the minutes, this is the copy, signed copy for
you can
Angela.
sign that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving on then to the park administrator's report. Janet.
So what Sue Ann was asking about, I just got an email this morning from Reverend Jewel. They do want to proceed with the rental. She said I don't think they can afford the full park rental because it's probably 2 times what they paid, maybe more than that, than what they paid last year for Fort Wayne. So she's asking if she could just rent the north and the south pavilion and rent the grassy area, and then of course the parking, which I assume it's fine with you, all of you, if they don't do a full park rental, if they just do both pavilions in the grassy area and not the grand pavilion. So I would still be able to rent the grand pavilion. If that's acceptable to you, I'm going to email her back tomorrow and tell her that that is acceptable.
I thought that they were gonna come here and talk about kind of what they're before.
That was December. That was last month's
That was
meeting.
last
Sorry.
month.
Okay.
Yep.
But they aren't doing that now?
Well, they were going to do a full park rental, which was
Okay.
$880, and they only pay like $300 to Fort Wayne for the pavilion. So that was a little out of their budget. So by doing just the north pavilion, the south pavilion, and the grassy area, and the parking lot, they can bring that back down.
But I thought that we were in agreement as a board that because of the content, that not that we're trying to obviously, that it goes in line with what we're trying to.
Well, that was determined at the last meeting that we.
I thought we were gonna wait to decide on that until, or maybe obviously I'm wrong.
So they came here. We asked them questions
Oh,
about their
I
event.
missed the December meeting.
Yes.
didn't I?
Yep.
Okay, I'm
So-
all right, okay.
Okay.
And
I missed the meeting, that's why, okay.
so basically, as a result of that discussion,
Okay.
they filled out the rental application, or at least were in the process of filling out the rental application. So
Just never mind when I was.
in the rental agreement, and I know it's been a few years since we tweaked it, but we have all of those areas broken out
Exactly.
so that you can rent them separately.
You can rent what you want, yes.
So I don't recall anything in that document that says above a certain size or something across the threshold that you must rent the entire park. So unless any of you feel strongly otherwise,
Well, the challenge is, I mean, if you do something different for them, I mean, it's policy now we've set for everybody. So if
Right.
anybody could rent a la carte different pieces of this, we can't do anything differently for them.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we've gotta follow our policy. If they wanna rent 3 or 4 spots out of 5 or 6, then that's what it is.
And we do have 2 churches this summer that have already rented the north, the south, and the grassy.
Yeah, then I think
Because they
that's,
don't need the Grand Pavilion, because it's so far, and they like to keep everything close to the splash pad and things. So we already had those rentals, so that's why I knew we would not be able to say no. But I'm just making sure you all are aware that they are going forward. Just so
I mean, the difference-
Tyler and Scott probably don't know what we're talking about. Do you want to fill them in? Tyler does. Scott, you know all about it?
What, I
The
don't
pagan
know about who's
pride.
coming, but,
The pagan pride.
yeah, I mean, I kinda agree with him no matter what.
Yeah, okay.
Do one for all, or do it for one.
yeah.
It's
I
gonna be
mean,
coming.
and if there's a nice church that wants to rent the Grand Pavilion for their own thing, then that works out okay too.
Yes, it
I
does.
wanna make exceptions too, but
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I looked at the prices, Janet, but $75 for the entire day for the north and south pavilions. Is
North
that
and
it?
south, and then the
Yes.
grassy area is 150.
Okay. So altogether, we're talking about a $300 rental versus a $850 or $825 rental.
Plus the parking across the street, which we charge $250 for.
Passing that on, the
Yeah,
fee
so
for
instead
one
of
day. Okay.
$1,000, 50, it's gonna, yeah, they're gonna keep it at what they consider probably a more decent amount, so.
And you said we've had 2 other groups that have done something similar?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have Great Will Missionary Church is doing their big church thing this summer, and they've rented both pavilions, the grassy strip and the parking.
So do we need to change that in the, or?
Well, for
is
the
that
rental at
something
hand,
that
and Jan's looking for an answer, and I think the answer is we have to let them do
Yeah,
that,
I'm
yes.
just making sure
Right.
that we just all are in agreement that yes, the rental can go through.
But going back to your question, Amy, if we're gonna have several entities kind of do almost a full park rental without doing the full park rental actually, I think we might need to reconsider that policy this year,
It's fine.
so.
Yeah.
Is there agreement?
Nope, I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
How do we prevent them, if they only have partial rental, then spilling over into the Grand Pavilion?
Well, they won't because I'll have it rented. The Grand Pavilion is rented every weekend
is,
for the
okay.
whole, from beginning to end, there's never another weekend. So now, will I have to disclose to the people renting the Grand Pavilion what's going on? Of course, I will tell them that there is a pagan pride going on in the park. That should not affect them, their area up there, but again, I will disclose that to someone. And if we find out that we lose the rentals because of it, then I will absolutely bring that to you at a meeting, so that then you can discuss whether or not we want to, if we want to change policy, or if we want to change the grassy, maybe make it more expensive, or whatever you want to do,
But then don't we get into a discrimination?
No, it'd be after this, is what we're talking
I
about.
know, but I mean after it, if,
Well, no,
No,
because
I
we're
mean-
talking about all events.
Yeah, we would need to make a business decision. I mean,
Right, right.
is it better to, if you're gonna take, I mean, to me, if you're taking so much of the park, you have to rent the whole thing. I mean, if you're doing one pavilion or another pavilion, that's one thing, but if you're renting both pavilions.
3 out of 4.
And the grassy area and the parking, everything with the Grand
Yeah, right.
Pavilion, to me, it's all or nothing, if you're doing that much of it,
right,
I would
right.
So-
I'd like to see you come up with some numbers, because if
Well,
you tell me
yeah.
100 or more has to be a full park pavilion, that would really help me out, because they're
So
expecting.
boy, you're taking the
expecting
words
4 to 5
right out of my mouth, Janet.
Okay,
So
well, you
what I
know.
was gonna say is, it's been several years since we drafted the current Riverside Gardens policy. I know because I was one of the ones that did it. So I guess, is there anyone from the board that, in addition to me, would like to revisit this
I'll
as
work
a
with you
committee? Okay. Any objection, Suzanne, Amy?
No.
Ron and I
No.
working on
I
that?
think it
Okay.
needs to be done.
so when you rent the parking, explain that.
So the parking it's a pass-through fee, basically. So it's the cost that we have for
field
maintenance to
across the
go and mow it. And it's not something that we
You mean-
take,
You mean the grassy area across the street?
yes, yep,
So it's like, how can you rent the parking
No.
lot?
and we don't.
It's across.
It's all goes directly to the town, because it's the town's property, and,
I
yep.
get it, I was
so.
just,
Yeah.
no.
Well,
'Cause
to
everybody's
back up a
gonna
little
come
bit, that's not necessarily the full So the parking is additional from what we're going to charge them for the two pavilions and that area out front. So they're gonna pay us $330 for this, like this part of the park where Bloomfest is, and then the parking area. So they're gonna keep it, we're gonna keep it, it's gonna be about under $600 and some for them versus $1,000. So,
400 or 500 people is going to overtake that parking, everything.
well, we have 2,800 at Bloomfest and we don't touch the Grand Pavilion at all. We don't even get near it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I get that.
So
I'm just more worried about just people wanting to come in and park, or the park, or just enjoy the nice park that we have. I mean,
And it's a question that happens during Bloomfest too, but luckily we have the parking lot across the street, the
if
new
you
one.
got the right people out to manage it, it'll be no big deal.
Yeah. And they know they need security to help people walk across the street and do all that, so
Nice.
we're good on that. Okay, I'll do this quickly because I know
Yep.
there's one. Everything's stored, everything's put away from Christmas so far. They've done a really good job of that. And Santa is going to be secured for the year. And just to let you know, January rentals so far, we've got 15 full bookings and February's got 12. And that's just right on par for what we did last year. Last year we did 15 in January and 17 in February. So I mean, I'm still booking February. So I think we're just right on par, if not even better. Our weather's just been so good, people have been thinking about renting a lot, I'm sure. So that's it for me.
So one question, Janet, following up on the discussion we had at the last meeting about trying to have more decorations in the parks in future year. What do we think the best time of year is to buy Christmas decorations?
Next
Probably right
month.
around now?
Yeah,
Next month,
right now.
in February, we
Yeah,
should.
Okay.
I can bring you the list and show you the pictures of everything they have, and then if we get our name in, we won't be like this year buying something off the floor and getting one of something because it's the only thing they have left. So I'll bring all that to the February meeting, and I'll have everything laid out for you in pictures and colors so you can, because I know you don't like the reindeer.
The reindeer that was the companion to Santa,
I don't like
yes.
the reindeer, but there's a
Okay.
whole lot of other things that are just as cute that we could go for, okay?
Okay. Any questions for Janet? Okay. I know it's under new business, so we'll get there pretty
Okay.
shortly. Old business, Riverside Gardens electrical updates. Amy,
So I'm meeting with Ron tomorrow.
Okay.
I've been kind of playing phone tag with some people, so actually I just spoke to Ron on the way here. I'm gonna just meet him in the morning at his project to give him that paper copy, and then I'm hearing back from other people, just I guess playing phone tag or trying to get schedules. So that is the goal for next month, that I have something.
okay. So, just for everyone's recap, I know since between October, November, and December, we didn't have everyone at every single meeting. We do have the one quote already.
Right.
But given the dollar amount of that quote,
It was
we
like
have to have
20,000.
3.
Yeah.
So unless Ron's comes back under the threshold where we have to consider that, I don't know, we might have to look into whether or not we could accept a quote that was lower than that threshold.
Okay, I do
with just 2
have good
quotes, but-
news, speaking of that, if I can bring this
sure.
up. So and I don't know if it's the same person, Janet, a community member that I think donated some money. And I saw him at the Legion, we had a pretty talking, he's very nice. And if it's more than we think they were to spend, he made it sound like he'd be willing to donate some more money to handle that, so.
He said this year all I have to do is reach out to him if there's something that we want, and I
Okay.
put that in the back, I think I told you guys that.
And he pretty much told me the same thing.
Continually supporting us, so.
And I have he gave me his personal cell phone, so.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you, Amy.
you're welcome.
All right, moving on to new business. Janet, snow
Okay.
blower for Cedarville Park.
So last year, we didn't have much snow, but when we did have snow, a lot of the snow down at the Cedarville Park, if we had rentals that day and they started at, let's say, 9 or 10, either Tom or I went down and shoveled the patio off, because when you've got your maintenance guys out doing roads and everything else, the park isn't that big, and also. So we did it by hand, we threw salt out, we took care of it, I did it many times, Tom did it. I think a couple of times, Jacob had to do it, get off the truck and go do it. One of the things we talked about today at our staff meeting is, wouldn't it be nice if in that garage, there was a snow blower? We do own a snow blower, but unfortunately it's heavy and it's not one you can, like Brent said, I can't just pick it up and throw it on the truck and run it over to.
It's
the
what we
main-
have here at Town Hall?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, but if we had one in the, especially self-propelled, then Tom and I, in the mornings, like, I have a rental this Saturday, it starts at 11. If we get the snow Friday night and we have it, Tom or I can talk, we can figure out which one's got the time. We can go down to the self-propelled and we can clean that whole patio off and around the building and then put the snow blower back before the people even get there. That way Brent and Ricky do not have to get off of a snow, a plow and come down and take care of that. They'll plow the circle, they'll plow the parking lot, but it's, there's no snow blower there, so it's very inconvenient. So I looked them up today, got looking at a lot of them, and there's a couple that are, all under $899, and they've got good warranties. There's power, there's propel, they'll have electric start, or a couple of them have gas pulling. Tom or I are worried about, we both have pull gas thing, but I think we should consider that and put one in the garage over there and then allow us to go and do that, when we do have snow, and keep our renters from calling and saying, hey, there's like, 6 inches of snow in the front door or something, or whatever, and then us running over with snow shovels and cleaning their path, so.
Sounds more
I think it-
efficient.
I think it would be definitely more efficient, and I think it's something we could easily handle.
And what are the rough numbers that you have for that?
I looked at Lowe's, and I looked at Menards, and I looked at Home Depot, and self-propelled, like a commercial grade self-propelled is $899. Of course, we're tax exempt, and a non-commercial, just a homeowner type one, is $599, $699, $799. The $599 is not self-propelled, you have to push it, which, keeping in mind that both Tom and I are of that age.
Mature.
So, mature, thank you, Amy. So I think a self-propelled is the way to go. Tyler probably has some input into that, because Tyler works with all this stuff, but I think self-propelled is the way to go, don't you, Tyler?
Depends if you want weight. So the self-propelled are gonna be way more. They're gonna be a lot more weight, a lot more work. So, if you're talking removing an inch or two of snow, the paddle machines do just fine, and they're really light, easy to maneuver. A lot of guys have those for their house. So, it's just what you wanna do. If you're planning on moving a foot of snow, then you guys get the two-stage self-propelled. If not, if you're looking to just remove, an inch or two, I would definitely consider the paddle.
Well, even if it's heavy and it's self-propelled, we'll just flip the garage door open, it's automatic, and we'll just come right around with the self-propelled and do the sidewalk, do the front, and walk
Also,
right back.
So the area that we're talking about would basically just be a path from the Circle Drive to the
Well, what
doorway.
happened last year is a couple
Right.
times, we did not shovel, we have the fire doors in the back to get out, we didn't shovel that area a couple of times. And I felt bad about that, because it was me that didn't do it. I shoveled the whole front, got all that cleaned off, and then did do the back. And then nobody called me on it so much, you just said later, hey, you guys, you didn't shovel the back walk. Well, I was kind of exhausted by the time I did the front, so that's why I started thinking that would be probably the most acceptable thing to do, is to do all around the whole entire pavilion, the fire doors in the back, make sure they're all clean, make sure the sidewalks are clean. I'm not worried about where the picnic tables are, but I do think that area would be very nice and very easy to do if we had a self-propelled snow. My thoughts.
Okay.
And considering their fire doors, we
Yeah.
probably have to do those.
Well, and people stepped out of them to get a breath of fresh air, and that's how they stepped into the snow, and I hadn't done them. So,
Considering that, I've only lived back here for 5 years or so, and I don't feel like we get a lot of snow, do you think that just maybe, like Tyler said, the paddle would be sufficient?
well, again, commercial grade,
Yeah,
longer warranty,
right,
better equipment, heavier, yes, but when it's self-propelled. I lived on a farm and we had self-propelled, and I will tell
Right.
you that now at Lionsgate, I don't have one, and I absolutely hate it.
yeah,
I am pushing the ice and pushing the snow till I
Yeah.
almost can't hardly do it.
right, right,
And I see my neighbor with his self-propelled go,
right,
I'm
right.
jealous, so I'll
It's
get
like a mower, right?
right, yep.
Well, I do
So-
think we have to do, we can't micromanage some of this stuff. It has to be what works for staff, and also
Right.
what makes a good rental experience. Knowing that we need to revisit our rental prices anyway in the future. I would move to allow up to $800 for staff to buy a snow blower, for Cedarville Park.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Just note that in minutes here, or my notes rather. That was not to exceed $800.
Correct.
To exceed. So Janet, you know, if we're buying a snow blower and it's just for rentals, is it something that we would make a habit of just doing all the sidewalks in the park?
Oh, I think.
So that anyone, like, if we're going to purchase a self-propelled one and we're going to have that increased cost, wouldn't it be prudent to get greater use of that and do the whole entire park?
If it's self-propelled and you're talking about walking past the fairy tree and walking back around in the back area, of course, you're talking, what, another 30 minutes max to do that?
Okay.
So of course, I think we had talked about what a great idea that would be for people that want to park in the back and walk up to the pavilion. Yes, that would be great.
Some more chairs?
Okay.
All right, we are. Do you need to vote on
6 o'clock or is it 6:30? The plan, it must be 6 o'clock for the next
Yeah.
meeting? Okay. All right, any further questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
No.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes 4-0. And understanding that we have 3 minutes left until the plan commission meeting starts, is there any further new business?
No.
If not?
Nope.
All right. Meeting adjourned to February. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.